Great Satan. What's hitting us, Pixel?
Nazi V7 missiles from the moon's surface.
There are too many missiles! The laser defense grid I designed. It can't shoot them down fast enough, Agent Sovryn.
Main thrusters are destroyed, Agent Sovryn.
Nazi ships are docking. They're boarding the hyper rocket.
Agent Sovryn and Dr. Goldblossom, I presume. Take them both.
No! Let go of me!
I don't know if a quick hack can solve this one.
Hack sig.
Oh, yeah. Whew. All right, well, this is, it's time for HackSec, where we talk issues of hacking and security. Of course, on this show, hackers are heroes. I'll tell you real quick, Black Hat's coming up, and, you know, there's going to be so many things to talk about after Black Hat. There is every year, you know, it's just a huge conference. We will talk about that. Well, after it happens. I mean, there's already been previews of some of the exploits that people are going to be talking about. You know, we'll break into that after it happens. So don't worry. I might even do a whole special about it. We'll see. But anyway, I read it's hosted on Medium, but this is a full-on kind of publication called Hacker Noon. And this was written by Daniel Jeffries, who's an author. I read this blog post, and I can't believe I didn't write this. Like, it sounds like an episode of SovrynTech, quite frankly. But it was so beautiful that I want to read some of it to you, and I want to comment on it. But I mean, I guess I'm kind of, you know, giving it away early here. Look, I think that this is fucking spot on. There's one crucial point that only SovrynTech could really bring up that he misses, but otherwise it's absolute brilliance. I'm not taking anything away from this guy. I mean, just fantastic write-up. So let's start reading it, and there is no more encryption debate. Backdoors threaten the whole world. Fuck yeah. So let's read it here. The encryption debate ends now. As a society, we simply can't allow backdoors in encryption. Anyone who tells you otherwise has absolutely no idea how computers work. Backdoors are a threat to the security of the entire world. Now, Stellian breaking in for 1 second. Backdoors, of course, just mean security exploits, all the ones you've heard about. I mean, every, you know, like all the bad things that kind of happen that get in through sort of a 0 day and stuff like that. Those are backdoors. And into encryption, he's making the point it's a real problem. So let's read on. There is, I mean, like, picture a backdoor that allows people to see what you say on Signal, right? That's kind of what's being referenced here. So reading on. There is no more room for debate here. No more compromise. Woo! Right on. As the Petya ransomware virus rampages across the planet, shutting down hospitals, schools, and major businesses everywhere. We talked about Petya last week on SovrynTech. Obliterating data with a vengeance. We have all the proof we'll ever need that nobody can build a backdoor and keep it safe. Why? Because Petya and WannaCry, which we've also talked about on SovrynTech, both use powerful exploits that the NSA kept secret for years, right up until they couldn't. And there's more to come. The shadow brokers keep dumping cyber weapons from the NSA's Pandora's box. Expect more viruses and damage to critical infrastructure. The worst part is that this isn't even surprising. Now, Stellian breaking in for a second here. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the reason why it's a problem, I mean, you know, this blog will explain it. It will explain it a bit more. But the reason it's a problem is that, kind of like Microsoft, how they were able to solve Petya and WannaCry, once they knew about it, they could instantly fix it. And they did pretty much instantly fix it, you know, in Windows 10 and whatever else. So people, you know, reporting it, knowing about it and all that, yeah, that's important. Holding it for years like the NSA was, you end up with what happened with WannaCry and, you know, Petya, even though that affected, not unironically, very specific countries. But anyway, let's read on here. Eventually, secrets will always leak from big, sprawling bureaucratic entities. I want you to take a good long look at the list of U.S. companies and agencies that were breached over the last decade. And there's a link, and you can check it out in the show notes for the massive list. Go ahead, take your time. Here's a brief roundup of the world's greatest hacking hits. IRS, Medicaid, NASDAQ, UK Ministry of Defense, UK Customs, US Army, US DOD, Department of Defense, Department of Veteran Affairs, NSA, Bank of America, 70 different law enforcement agencies across the US, Florida Department of Juvenile Corrections, State of Texas, DNC, the Democratic National Committee, Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, and JP Morgan Chase. Boy, can you imagine why JP Morgan Chase would be interested in Zcash? Yeah. Reading on. And we're going to leave the keys to a back door in the hands of people who can't keep their own houses locked. He's talking about how most of those are government organizations. And they got hacked into. They can't keep their shit together. So why the fuck should they be holding on to, 0 days and exploits and backdoors and awareness of backdoors that companies could easily fix if they just told them about it? Where's your tax dollars working for you? I guess not. Taxation is theft anyway. Reading on. That's like handing a loaded gun to a raging derelict in New York City. Ben Franklin said, quote, 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead, end quote. Woo. 100% of tech experts agree. We can't build backdoors only the quote-unquote good guys get to use. It's not even remotely possible. And Stallion breaking in, this tech expert agrees. You just don't have backdoors, and you deal with the risks of that, because the risks of not having backdoors are believe me, it weighs out in the end to where not having backdoors is far more beneficial than being able to spy on some kind of software or whatever else. 100%, or let's see, this isn't even the climate change debate. I'm talking 100% agreement, not 97%. There's no wiggle room. If you're a politician looking to hire a quote-unquote red-blue team to fake debate this, you won't find a single real tech person who agrees with you. Not one. So don't bother. Stallion breaking in again. I want to talk about this. So last week, I had some very harsh words for politicians talking about, tech, and like it was with Kaspersky, where they wanted Kaspersky to hand over his source code. And I said that most politicians, if not all, have no fucking clue what they're looking at if they looked at source code. Some people emailed me and said, oh, but they have experts that they hired to do this. If there's an expert telling a senator that, you can have a back door or some shit like this, that's no fucking expert. That's just another goddamn moron in Washington. No, there are no experts giving senators great advice, okay, in Washington, D.C., unless the senators just don't give a shit. And they let all this stuff pass and go on and on forever anyway, actions by the NSA, CIA, FBI, AT&T, and every other government organization. Bullshit, they have fucking experts. Their experts suck. They're not experts. Reading on. Not one. So don't bother. You'll find fools and other people who think that computers work like magic powered by unicorns and pixie dust, or who march to talking points like lemmings off a cliff. But you won't find anyone who actually knows a thing about computers to agree with you. And this is Stanley breaking in again. Son of a bitch. This is what I hate about Apple. This is one of the things I really hate about Apple. We want it to just work like magic. Stop that. Tell people how this shit works. Stop that narrative that this stuff works like magic. Yeah, I blame them for part of this. Reading on. Make no mistake. As soon as we cripple encryption with backdoors, we've built a ticking time bomb. We've sacrificed real safety for the illusion of safety, something we've gotten very good at as a society. Ooh, that's a point. Reading on. It's not a question of if the keys to a backdoor get out, but when. And when it does, it will be a disaster for the entire world. Nothing will be safe. Banks will get raided with impunity, and people's entire life savings will vaporize in seconds. People will die as critical medical equipment seizes up in ransomware attacks that make today's global assaults look like child's play. Voting systems will collapse. Woo, I'm all for that, baby. Let's see. Military communications will crumble, and all because we're no longer willing to accept risk in society. We've become so desperate to stop terrorism that we've lost our minds. We can't make rational decisions anymore. We can no longer accept that there are always going to be bad people who do bad things. The answer is not to punish everyone else, but to punish the people who did those bad things. Now, I'm not going to get into that. But this is a huge point. Okay? And this is a point for whether you believe in a society with some kind of a state, whether you believe in a society with some kind of enforcement body, or if you're like me, you're a full-on anarchist and there's none of that shit, okay? There is no state. It's stateless, blah, blah, blah. Life is not safe. There is no safety is an absolute illusion, no matter what you do. And that's kind of speaks to my point I was trying to make earlier. Look, the best thing that you can do is just try and lock down what you have as best as possible. There is no advantage. Okay, it is only disadvantage, and it is only the potential for far greater harm if you have cracks, effectively in your encryption, in your, personal little system that you use as an individual, not some kind of system as in society. The more that all of our shit's locked down, the safer everybody is. It's not like you don't just let one little group have all the keys to the kingdom. No. Because that eliminates that entire network effect. Huge problem. That's such a great point. We won't accept risk of society. We're so hungry. Please keep me safe. When that's a boogeyman. It's a spook. It's a phantasm. It doesn't exist. Let's read on. Instead, the prevailing logic is that we should cripple the entire system to give us the comfortable illusion that the bad guys will be easier to find, but they won't. The Irish Republican Army blew up a lot of cafes in Britain in the 1960s and 70s, long before we had encryption. The 9/11 scumbags didn't have WhatsApp. They killed 3,000 people anyway. And still, we have the UK's Theresa May calling for backdoors, as well as the Australian government and the FBI in a coordinated attack on common sense. You can spot a lying politician easily. Of course, they all are. But if there's a nasty attack, watch how the talking heads pop onto TVs the very next day crying about the need to stop encryption. This makes them automatic liars because they'll have no evidence encryption was even used in the attack. It's literally impossible. Investigations don't move that fast. So the only rational conclusion is they're just exploiting a tragedy for their own agenda. That's why after the Paris attacks in 2015, the talking heads were out in force, only to find out the attackers used plain text messages. They used SMS right out in the open. But I'm not saying that the bad guys won't use encryption. They will, and they do. ISIS built their own secure messaging app. Here's the thing, though. I'm betting ISIS won't be giving us the backdoor keys to their messaging app anytime soon. So how is mandating backdoors to WhatsApp going to help? It's not, because the politicians know this isn't about stopping terrorists. It's about spying on average citizens and journalists and activists. It's about being lazy. It's about wanting centralized control of everything. They can't help it. It's in their nature. A scorpion stings even when the sting will sink them. It's real simple. If a politician is calling for backdoors, it's for one of three reasons. They have no idea how computers work, or they're willfully ignorant, or they're lying. My guess is that 99% fall into the bullet point 3, that being they're lying, because experts have been telling them this over and over and over since the 1990s. They know this isn't possible. They just don't care. They're willing to compromise the security of the whole world because of their stupidity, and that's not just stupid, it's dangerous. They now use the boogeyman of terrorism to justify the passage of every single misguided and dangerously overreaching law. Police can steal money from citizens for no reason, like they're a bunch of crooked Mexican cops rolling tourists at spring break. Intelligence agencies can spy on every single person with impunity, while a secret court gives them a rubber stamp 97.97% of the time. Homeland Security can hold people indefinitely without trial, or our tourism industry is crashing. Nobody wants to come to our country because getting through the door is now such a nightmare. What the hell are we doing? Woo! Now I could stop right there. There's more. And I mean, it's brilliantly, all well written. A point I do want to bring up is that just in the past couple of days, there was a Supreme Court ruling that when you are entering the country, Border Patrol agents cannot access. They can access anything, say on your devices. They're talking about how the tourism industry in this is tanking, right? Okay, so the concern is that because they're gonna digitally I don't want to use the term rape. They're going to digitally spy completely into your life if you come through, because they're going to look at your laptop, they're going to look at your smartphone and all this. Now the claim apparently is now, and of course, what the Supreme Court says and what border agents do are two very different things often enough, and we have plenty of historical precedent for that. Okay, but the U.S. court is ruling saying that you cannot, if it's something locally on the device, like downloaded text messages or something like that on the device, you can look at it. But if it's on a remote server, like social media stuff, like your tweets, Facebook posts, whatever, that they are not allowed to look at those. Like, they are not allowed to ask for that. Also, there was the laptop ban. I don't know if we talked about this last week on the show. There was the laptop ban from certain Muslim countries that has been lifted. So I understand that to some degree that is changing, but it's probably only changing because this narrative, hopefully, is hitting home for so many people. The narrative that I'm reading right now from this guy. Fantastic writing. Let me read a little bit more here. The founding fathers, fuck them, are rolling in their graves. They didn't want star chambers and a complete lack of transparency from their leaders. That's why they threw those stamps in the sea. How much more ridiculous does it have to get before we wake up? I hate when people use the term wake up, but whatever. Aren't we tired of compromising the rights and freedoms of everyone because of a few crazies? That's like punishing everyone in the barracks because one guy snuck in a jelly donut. It makes no sense. Of course, that's a reference to Full Metal Jacket. Anyway, fuck the terrorists. We're not supposed to change for them. We're supposed to go right on doing what we like because it drives them crazy. That's kind of a horseshit narrative too. But anyway, there's still some brilliant stuff going on here. Living openly, drinking, smoking, and screwing, speaking our minds, praying and worshiping whoever we want without fear. Instead, we've done the opposite. We've compromised our freedoms across the board. We treat everyone in society like a child now. By saying we need backdoors to stop terrorists, politicians are openly saying we need to compromise the security of banks, the stock market, hospitals, and the military. What sane person would think that that's a good idea? Well, I have comments about that, but you get my point. Encryption is not my enemy. It's essential to our national security. Insane, fanatical extremists are the enemy. All right, so there's a little bit more here that he goes on with, but he kind of gets more into the political tirade. The point that he kind of misses in all this, and that's why I wanted to read a little bit past that point of what the hell is going on, which I think is the beautiful way really to end that article. But the reason I wanted to read on with a little bit more of that is because the author of this blog was so well done. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from you. You're missing the point. Government, every single government by its very fucking nature is a terrorist organization. They are the terrorists. So of course, they're not, he's right in calling them out, but he misses the point that all the things he's saying that we need to be protecting and blah, 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 themselves are terrorist organizations. That's the point you miss. That's why you're saying, what is going on? This doesn't make any sense. They have to know better. Are they just that stupid? Blah, blah, blah. No. Yeah, they're stupid, but they are a terrorist organization. They are an occupying force on every part of the planet that they occupy. That's the key to understanding. Why doesn't this make sense? It is so fucking obvious. Every security researcher, 100% across the board, says, no, motherfucker, you can't put backdoors in these things, and we just have to live with the risk of the fact that you're not going to be able to spy, on signal communications or whatever else. The reason that they don't care about that is because they are a fucking terrorist organization. It's that simple. Explains the whole mystery. And it explains and it highlights why it is so important for the everyday individual to use encryption themselves and to support apps, companies, educational, media, whatever, that gets people on board with this shit. Get using encryption. It's the only way to stop the terrorists. And they're all around. They're all sitting in Washington, D.C. They sit in the halls of Congress, every goddamn one of them. Brilliantly said. It's brilliantly said. The point, and he's right. The argument is over. There cannot be backdoors in encryption, because if stuff's not encrypted, then the entire, even if you love the system even if you love society, if you love the legacy world, if you love the banks and you love this and blah, 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 you have to have encryption without backdoors. Like I kind of jokingly said earlier, seriously, I think JP Morgan knows this. And that's why they want to use zero knowledge proofs. They want to jump on board with cryptocurrencies because they're like, holy shit, if there's backdoors, we're fucked. Maybe they're at least listening to their security researchers. Not that I'm a fan of JP Morgan Chase, by no fucking means. This is important. This is a big deal. It's not as simple as, oh, I don't care about my privacy, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't get it. You don't fucking get it. Everything you do relies upon, some degree, like program security in our interconnected, computer-run world. Okay? Everything relies on encryption. To stay afloat, to be counted on in any remote sense. Everything. And anything that endangers that. Okay? Whether it's the terrorists overseas, the terrorists, that call themselves the government, whatever. It's a problem. Use encryption, please. Please. Anything I take away that you take away from this, please start using. Use Signal. I could go down the list of all the apps that you can use. Use Signal, use PGP. Get on board with this shit. Demand encryption. I'll be back with more.